Hello, Watem here, and welcome back to some more Higurashi When They Cry. Let us continue. He had no strength. His legs were shaking, and he couldn't even see straight. He had only been stepping on the gas pedal, but his lungs were about to explode, and his brain was lacking in oxygen. It had to be that certain type of exhaustion that came immediately after hyperarousal. Irie understood that intellectually, but he still couldn't get his body moving. He tried to run, albeit in a wobbly way. He heard a noise coming down the slope behind him. This was it. But Irie still tried to run as far as he could.
保安より本部発見した負傷している模様制圧する
Irie heard the voice of his pursuer. Shit, he thought. What can I do? I have to run. I have to. Oh.
進むと見せかけ引いては粘る
シオンさん、さっきから歌ってるその歌は何ですか？
Don't you know? It's really popular nowadays.
すみません。音楽には疎いもんで。ん？
There was a wrecked car ahead. Oh. It's close enough to be visible from the road. White smoke was still visible, so the accident must have just happened. Kasai slowed down.
どうしたの？はあ、やっちゃったですね。ってあれ、監督じゃない？
Their car stopped. The sound of the brakes startled Irie, and he fell on his behind. Irie was obviously the one who had been in the accident.
ハロー、監督。まさかあれ、監督の車ですか？
シオンさん。
大丈夫ですか、入江先生。すぐ医者へ行かれた方がいい。
監督を診療所に連れてって、監督が自分で診察するわけですね。
Oh, that's very
さあ、
just
立てますか。診療所までお連れしましょう。
診療所は困ります。園崎家に行かな。
Not in the greatest of conditions.
監督？ちょっとどういうことよ。まずいんじゃない？
Kasai looked at Irie's car, and then looked around the area. Then he whispered to Shion.
シオンさん、訳ありのようです。
どうしたの？
入江先生の車に弾痕が。しかも拳銃とは思えません。
マジ？そっち持って。ひとまず本家に連れて行こう。
The two of them loaded Irie into the back seat, got in the car, and left in a hurry.
監督に話を聞かないと状況がわかんないですね。診療所は困る。どういうことだろう。
診療所の何者かに追われたと見るのが今は妥当でしょうが、話を聞くまでわかりません。ただ相当のヤバいことに巻き込まれたのは間違いないようです。
あれ？どこ行くの？
Shion was confused as to why Kasai suddenly made a wrong turn.
敵は先生のタイヤを狙ってました。生かして捕らえるつもりです。私たちのすぐ近くに追っ手が迫っていたかもしれません。
ってことは追ってきてる？後方に遮影なし、上空に機影なし。この地形じゃ密着尾行以外は不可能でしょ。
念のためです。もう一度だけ左折したら本家へ直行します。申し訳ありませんが、シオンさんは後方監視をお願いします。
Yeah, everyone's meeting up towards the Sonozaki house.
了解です。
保安より本部標的は民間車両に拾われた模様車両ナンバーと車種を送る
Yeah, so I'm guessing they probably haven't received authorization to shoot the civilians, which is why they had to back off, wait for authorization.
本部了解捜索中のウグイスは民間車両に標的を変更 至急捜索せよ。異例所長は極力生きたままで確保。接触民間人も制圧せよ。ただし生死は問わない。
大丈夫なの？すぐに見つかるの？
ご安心を。所長の白衣には発信機が、
Oh.
ウグイスの応援車両には測定器が積まれていますので、三角測定法で位置を検知できます。
Irie was lying in the back seat, wearing his white coat. There was a device on his collar. The security department put it there just in case. So no matter how hard Shion tried to look for anyone following them, the enemy already knew exactly where they were.
ウグイス3、標的車両を発見。水車小屋の前を小道に入った。
There was a map of Hinman's Isle on the table in the security room. The path by the watermill led to a certain private property. It belonged to the Sonozaki family, and the Sonozaki residence was the only building on it.
サンサ。
あらあら、袋のネズミね。
こちら大鳥湾。ウグイス、まだ突入するな。もうじき大鳥が合流する。合流してから一度に突入するぞ。
ウグイス1了解。
小木、ウグイスにさっさと突入させないと相手に無駄な時間を与えるわよ。
感度あるし。
How much of that is on purpose?
誰も私の言うことなんか聞かないんだから。
So, yeah, I mean, they know that the Sonozaki family is like Yakuza family, I think. And they quite possibly have weapons of their own, and so you don't want just the single Nightingale to go in. You want more backup. The Sonozaki family's basement has a security system which displayed images captured from the various security cameras on the property. Of course, it wasn't as high-tech as the ones at the Irie Institute. It was in the room on the second floor of the Gasho house, a Japanese-style room where you had to kneel to avoid hitting your head. With bundles of wires snaking away from the monitors, it felt like a hidden chamber. There was electricity and a phone nearby, and although it was in the basement, it had all the basic amenities of the Sonozaki residence. At first, all the club members had watched the monitor curiously, but after a while it got too hot in such a tiny room. Mion and Renna stayed in the room to observe the monitor.
みーちゃん、なんだろう。車が入ってきたよ。これは笠井さんの車だね。多分シオンでしょ。今日の祭りに合わせて遊びに来たってことだろうね。たく、なんでこんな日に。
You're going to be happy in a moment.
空気の読めないやつ。
Their granny had been up the shrine since the early morning, so there was nobody upstairs to answer the door. And if Mion didn't answer it, Shion would think that nobody was home. Mion wondered if she should tell Shion what was going on. Shion could be helpful sometimes. Kasai's car stopped in front of the gates. Someone was getting out of it.
あれ、みーちゃん、あれ監督だよ。え？
They saw Shion and Kasai holding Irie and the monitor. Obviously something serious had happened.
行ってみよう。レナにケイちゃん、一緒に来て。サトコたちはここでモニターの監視。リカちゃんは表に出ちゃダメだよ。羽生はそれでも出てかないようリカちゃんの監視。お任せですわ。なのです。みー、ひどいのです。
Maybe Yokonogi had made the right decision. If he'd let Nightingale go in as Takano had ordered, it would have been on the monitor. But Yokonogi ordered them to stand by until another unit arrived, so they waited. So Mion didn't notice that the enemy was about to attack. By this time, there were many vehicles belonging to the mountain dogs parked by the windmill. Yokonogi and Phoenix One had joined with Nightingale, and they were getting ready to head in. However, it had been a good idea to leave Sadako to watch the monitor. I mean, of course. And if Mion hadn't gone out, Irie would have been killed. Mion didn't know it yet, but Irie was their only hope of rescuing Tomitake. So, as a result, entirely by circumstance, they did everything correctly.
おねえ、もう神社の方かな。シオン、お姉たちどっから来てんですか。さては地下にいましたね。あそこで遊んでるって鬼ババに言いつけますよ。んなことはどうでもいい。監督は監督。
まさかやられたのか。
ってことはお姉たちも訳ありのようですね。何が起こってるんです？しーちゃん、話すからよく聞いて。実はね。
監督、何があったんですか。すみません。富武さんが山犬に捕まりました。診療所の地下区画に囚われているようです。私は逃げる時に奴らに追われて事故を起こしてしまい。
Irie explained everything he could while enduring the pain. Everyone was happy to see him safe, but Mion's expression quickly grew stern. Then she asked Shion a question.
追われてる。尾行はなかったよ。
とにかく中へ。良くない雲行きです。
They heard the sound of a car approaching, and it wasn't alone. Who could it be at this time of the day? It was a waste of precious seconds to even think that. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why they stayed outside the front for so long. Kasai picked up both sisters and ran through the gate.
地下へ急ぎましょう。あそこなら安全です。
ミオさん、変な車がいっぱい来ますわよ。わかってる。地下に戻って。扉を閉めるよ。リカちゃんは？羽生さんと一緒に隠し部屋に入りましたわ。
ウグイス6標的を発見。R の友人数人も一緒です。
So probably gonna think that maybe they're hiding Rika there.
間違いないわ。R、そうよね、ジローさん。
Tomitake was lying on the floor of the security room. His hands and legs were cuffed, and there was another pair of handcuffs to connect them, leaving him bent backwards on the floor. He couldn't get up or even turn around. Takano laughed and poked Tomitake's side with the toe of his shoe. The mountain dogs climbed over the fence easily. There was no need for anyone to explain it at this point. It was obvious they were the enemy, and that they were the mountain dogs that Rika had spoken about many times. They went through the grove of trees and headed for the entrance of the underground storehouse. The first 5 mountain dogs were supposed to capture them all, but they fell down, one after another. Just as one of the mountain dogs started to wonder why they fell, he felt something on his leg. The next moment, he was flying through the air. As he stood up, his leg got pulled again. He realized then that there was a rope wrapped around his leg. Because of the way he fell, the rope was wrapped tightly around it and wouldn't come off easily.
注意しろ。ブッシュは対人トラップだらけだ。
Sadako had set up lots of traps in the bushes. After all, she wouldn't just sit around all day on an empty property. The club members headed into the underground storehouse one after another. The mountain dogs couldn't do anything, although they did see them.
閉めるよ。みんな力を貸して。
せーの。
It was a heavy door, but when they put their strengths together, it closed easily. Mion locked the door quickly, putting on the deadbolt for good measure.
これ大丈夫かな？破られないかな？テレビには5台、6台、いえ、もっと映ってたかもしれませんわ。全部ワゴン車で、中には変な男たちがいっぱい。
簡単には破られないでしょうが、荒ごとに慣れている連中です。 過信しない方がいいでしょう。
Before he could even finish speaking, someone pounded on the door. The second group of mountain dogs had arrived. Although the heavy door was separating them, it wasn't at all comforting to know that the enemy was just on the other side.
私の失態ですみません。
監督は何も失敗してないですよ。
Akasaka should be on his way, but can he deal with like what, 5 vans, wasn't it? 5 or 6, or perhaps more vans of
とにかく奥へ行こう。
そうだな。監視カメラの様子で敵の人数を探ろうぜ。
ああ、はいはい。私はのけ者で事情もわからずいきなりクライマックスですよ。はーい。あーもう。あんたには5分時間ができたら全部説明するから。
ウグイス1より大鳥1。標的は防空壕のようなところへ逃げ込んだ。扉は鋼鉄製、突破できない。
大鳥湾了解。この園崎家ってやつはとんでもない金持ちだな。敷地が広すぎて包囲は不可能だ。包囲は断念。俺たちも突入に加わるぞ。ウグイスはその辺の倒木を探せ。大筒にして扉をぶち破る。
大鳥7より大鳥1。インドア用のプラバクがあります。準備しますか。
Plastic explosives are explosives for military use. There are various different kinds, but he was talking about the type specially made to break down doors. Okunogi momentarily thought it was a good idea, but changed his mind right away. This was a small village. If there was an explosion, everybody would hear. It was daytime, and they were on the surface. It was the worst time and place for the mountain dogs to do their job.
さすがに爆破は無理だな。ああ？いや待て。今何時だ？
もうじき10時です。
使えるぞ。大鳥7、やるぞ。新刊を準備しろ。
は？隊長、どうして10時だと爆破が可能なんですか？
Okunogi's mind was working sharper than ever. He was sure that this would work. Everyone gathered in the secret room.
みんな大丈夫なのですか？はわお、監視カメラを見てましたのです。敵は多分30人くらいいますのです。
そんなにかよ。やってくれるぜ。
So Akasaka versus 30 people, who wins?
ちょっとスイッチをいじるよ。連中立ち往生してるよ。
When Mion touched the switch, the screen switched to the view of the entrance to the basement. Some of the mountain dogs were checking out the door. They didn't appear to be trying to force it open. They were simply at a loss for what to do.
向こうはどう打って出るでしょう。こっちを袋のネズミと思ってますもの。多分大勢で体当たりでもして無理やり破る気ですわ。
なんだこいつら、丸太なんか持ってきて。
So they should probably try to escape.
どうやらあれで扉を打ち破ろうとしているようです。
今、サトコが袋のネズミだと言いました。なら、相手が扉を開けようと苦闘している間に、ここを脱出するべきだと思います。
There's not much point in... I mean, there's nothing they can do to make the door last longer. And... it's not like they can do... like, hold their own against the 30 people, even from inside the basement.
同感です。それに、富武さんも助け出さないと。
Yeah, there's that too.
そうだね。いくらここの壁が厚くても、敵に見つかったら価値はないと思う。
I do feel, since Tomitake is with Takano-san, I feel like that's more like the final boss kind of fight.
レナも脱出する時だと思うな。おねえ、この状況ならもうとっくに警察に電話できる段階じゃありません？だね。一番最初の市民の権利を忘れてたよ。仮に警察のスパイに電話を聞かれたとしても、もうこの段階ではバレバレだしね。
Okay, I thought that was being sarcastic at first. But yeah. Yeah, I
大
mean,
石さんが駆けつけてくれるはずさ。
even if they're a spy, there's one side is breaking into the other side. I think I know which side is breaking the law. So yeah, that should be apparent to everyone in the police that witnesses it. Mion picked up the phone. Why hadn't she thought about this earlier?
あれ？
どうした？
The lines have been cut. Mion panicked as she tried to listen for a dial tone.
電話がなんで？うんともすんとも言わない。
ケーブルが切られたかもしれません。
Suddenly everything went dark.
なんだろう？停電？
That conveniently? No. Kasai lit his cigarette lighter, and Mion turned her emergency flashlight on.
地下の弱点を突かれたね。でもこれだけ暗ければ敵だって簡単には。
I would have thought that they would have had a if this was like the secret hideout to like final stand-in for the Sonozaki family. I'm surprised they don't have a like generator inside the basement. Yeah, I guess the fumes could be an issue, but there'd be ways around that as well.
わかんないけど、多分暗闇でも見える機械とかあるんじゃない？持ってそうよね、あの連中。ミオンさん、どうして敵は電気を切断しましたの？
Prevents them from seeing
ただの嫌がらせ？
if they know that there's cameras.
嫌がらせ以上の意味があるとすれば、ここのセキュリティを殺すこと？
Alternatively, cause confusion if they can't see or have any lights or anything.
あいつら扉を撫でてましたの。諦めたんじゃない。
Disable any active defenses they might have as well.
あっという間に壊す方法を持ってて、それを気づかれないためにカメラを壊そうと。それで電気を切ったんじゃ。まさか爆破する気？
ってことは扉は一瞬で破られて、ここにもう砦の価値はねえってことじゃねえのか？
みーちゃん、今すぐにここを脱出しよう。さっき言ってた隠し井戸の脱出口を教えて。こっちです、みんな。
Yes, Rika knows. As well as Han. Mion was getting confused amidst all the chaos. She hadn't underestimated the mountain dogs. She even considered if they would have some explosives. But she didn't think they'd use them in Hinozawa in broad daylight. Somebody would hear the explosion. Is there even such a thing as a silent explosive? No, because of how explosives work. But I mean, you wouldn't necessarily have to use a large explosive if you aim for like hinges or for the lock of the deadbolt. You just need something strong enough to work through that. Potentially if it's shaped as well, that would focus the energy into cutting through the deadbolt system.
荒っぽい連中なんだろう。
So yeah, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Same goes for security. Doesn't matter if you've got a lock that can't be picked, if they can just pop open the hinges and get access to it that way. They take off the door or if they break in through a window. Same thing.
多少の危険は顧みないのかもしれないぜ。 確かにこんな時代ですが、山犬は非常に慎重な奴らです。こんな真っ昼間に爆弾なんて。高野さんならともかく、あのお好みさんが許可するはずがない。
But he did.
それでもぶち抜こうってのかい。いい度胸だよ。
レナはわかんないんだけど、音がしない鉄砲があるように音がしない爆弾ってあるの？
ないです。どんな爆弾もみんな似たような音がします。
そうか、わかりましたわ。奴ら監督は綿流しの本部役員ですわよね。今日のお祭り、雨天延期の判断は？
確か今日の10時に決まってあ、
まさか運動会と同じで。
木を隠すには森ってことね。
Yeah, less talking, more escaping. Rika knew Okanagi well. He would always complain about how he had to guard her like she was a princess. Rika had never expected Okanagi to be so sharp. That was why she was more frustrated than anyone else. The mountain dogs had quickly set up their explosives on the basement door. Long wires were connected to the explosives, and the mountain dogs were waiting on the other end, lying flat on the ground. One of the members was holding a detonation switch. All the wires were linked to it.
もうじき10時です。
Okay, laughing like a madman.
今朝連中に先生を撃たれた時はよ、よりによって今日かよと思ったよ。だが今は今日で助かったぜって思ってるぜ。
Okanagi had realized that he could use the festival effectively. He was going to make sure his enemies got what they deserved. On the morning of the village event, they used fireworks to let everyone know that an event is going to take place that day. This method is often used for track and field days at school. Since Watem starts in the evening, the fireworks go up at 10 a.m. The fireworks, of course, make loud explosive noises. Since Hinmazawa is located in a ravine, the sound echoes, making it hard to figure out where it's coming from. That was an advantage for the mountain dogs.
やれ。
Loud noise shook the ground like an earthquake. The explosion must have warped support beams everywhere. There was a discomforting squeaking noise, and dust fell from the ceiling. It certainly was powerful. The explosion must have blown the door wide open. An explosion that took place without anyone noticing it.
さあ入って。この奥だよ。
Mion led everyone to one of the rocky caves. There was a well-hidden shaft in there. They called it a hidden well, but it was actually a very eerie vertical tunnel. They didn't have enough flashlights for everyone, so there was no way for them to see the entirety of this ominous hidden well.
こいつを降りろってのか？どこまで続いてるんだ？
Far.
だいぶ降りると途中に横穴があるの。そこを抜ければ山中の古井戸に抜けられるようになってる。ってことは、それについて一番詳しいお姉が先頭打者決定です。お先にどうぞ。私がトップ？他の誰がトップなんです？しんがりは私と葛西が務めます。早く行って。わかった。
Mion was going to volunteer to take the rear, but Mion and Shion knew instinctively. Because there were so many of them, the rear might not make it in time. Unlike the iron door at the entrance, once the enemies are inside, all they'd have to do was to go through the inner doors, which are easily breakable. The route was basically a straight line. They probably won't get lost on their way, but hopefully they will. That was why Shion took the rear guard position before Mion did. After all, she was actually the older sister. Shion wanted to protect her younger sister, who was playing the older sister in this real emergency. Mion intuitively knew what Shion was thinking. Mion understood well the relationship between her sister and herself. She wasn't the only one who felt guilty for taking the older sister position. Shion felt guilty for making Mion take on the responsibilities of a family head. And here, finally, was a chance for Shion to atone.
ミオンさん、武器庫の鍵を今は開けるべき時です。
Mion silently threw over the key. Kasai and Shion took it and ran deep into the rock tunnel.
みんな聞いて。横穴まではだいたい30メートルちょっと。落ちたら底なしだよ。しかも真っ暗なんだからね。慎重に降りて。待機してる人はちゃんとはしごを照らしてあげること。一度にせいぜい1人か2人しか降りられないね。私が先陣を切る。照らしてて。
And on that note, I will end this here for today. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know any feedback you have in the comments. And until next time, see ya.